We call it going for milk. We call it working late. But psychologically, when a father escapes responsibility, he isn't just leaving a house, he's creating a vacuum that the child's nervous system will spend decades trying to fill. If you grew up with a ghost dad, you know the specific haunting of a man who was physically there, but emotionally miles away. It is the loudest silence in a home. Today, we're looking at the Peter Pan pathology, the terror of being seen, and why some men find it easier to be a legend or a ghost than to be a father. Because for the man who runs, responsibility isn't a duty, it's an existential threat to his own survival. The core of the escaping father is the fear of inadequacy. To a man with a fragile sense of self, a child is a mirror that never stops reflecting his flaws. Abandonment is rarely about the child's value. It is a confession of the father's stunted emotional growth. He escapes because he's still a child himself, trapped in a man's body, terrified that he doesn't have the substance to sustain another life. He chooses the emergency exit of absence because he would rather you wonder why he left than have you find out he didn't know how to stay. It is the ultimate act of emotional cowardice, masked as a new start. In the psychology of the escaping father, responsibility is equated with the death of the self. These men often possess a Peter Pan complex, a refusal to enter the world of adult consequences. To them, the needs of a child feel like a cage. Every yes to a child feels like a no to their own freedom. This often stems from a lack of emotional sovereignty. They never learned how to regulate their own distress, so when a child's needs trigger their anxiety, their only coping mechanism is flight. They don't see themselves as abandoning a child. They see themselves as escaping a suffocating pressure. They are permanent adolescents, forever looking for a neverland where no one expects anything from them. We cannot give what we never received. Many escaping fathers were raised by ghosts themselves. This is the generational handoff of absence. If a man's own father was a void, he has no blueprint for presence. To him, fatherhood is a role he's faking, and the pressure of the performance eventually leads to a breakdown. He repeats the abandonment not because he wants to, but because it is the only script he knows for handling the weight of a family. He's passing on a relic of emptiness, hoping that by moving to a new city or a new family, he can outrun the shadow of his own father. Why don't they just say goodbye? Why the ghosting? Why the sudden vanishing? This is the shame exit. For the escaping father, the guilt of leaving is so massive that he cannot look at it. To say, "I am leaving," requires him to acknowledge the pain he is causing. By vanishing, physically or emotionally, he avoids the mirror of the child's tears. If he doesn't see the impact, he can tell himself a story where he did what was best or everyone is better off without me. Silence is how he protects his own ego from the wreckage he leaves behind. When a father escapes, the child often undergoes somatic hardening. You became the Atlas child, trying to hold up the sky that he let fall. In the absence of a protector, the child's nervous system enters a state of permanent high alert. You learn to be hyper-responsible, hyper-vigilant, and low-maintenance to avoid adding more weight to the sinking ship. You didn't just lose a father, you lost your childhood. You became the solid stone figure from our hook, forced to be unmovable because the person who was supposed to be your foundation turned into smoke. Healing from an escaping father isn't about getting him to come back. It's about realizing he was never there to begin with. Grieve the potential. You aren't just grieving a man, you are grieving the idea of a father you deserved. Release the why. His departure was a reflection of his internal poverty, not your worth. You cannot find the answer to your value in the pockets of a man who is empty. Become your own anchor. The goal is to move from being the Atlas child who holds up the world to being a sovereign adult who owns their own peace. The ghost only has power as long as you are waiting for him to become solid. Once you realize he's just smoke, you can stop reaching for a hand that isn't there and finally start holding your own.